I'm curious. Anybody wear contacts? There's a few. Okay, 3. Great. Okay. Anybody like me who tried them out at some point in time but gave up? There's even more. There's something about doing this. I just can't. For decades, my mom told me not to stick my finger in my eye. And now the doctor's doing it. Anybody remember when contacts first came out? What's that? They're made of glass. Think about shoving a piece of glass in your eye. I'm going to put you, can I put you on the spot? Do you remember when that was?
Yeah, I think I was 9th or 10th grade in high school.
9th or 10th grade. You're going to regret saying that. As we start talking about dates. You know, a lot of us can remember when we first heard about, and this is an important part, manufactured contact lenses. But do you know they go back a little bit further? The first contact lenses were proposed and worked on, this should scare you, by René Descartes, the I think therefore I am guy, in the 1600s. What he found out was the manufacturing process was not quite right at that point to make pieces of glass that could go into your eye, let alone the fact that he did not know yet about the importance of disinfectants. For some odd reason, while they could see for a while, most of his volunteer subjects eventually went blind. Now that we all have a good case of the heebie-jeebies, thinking about the idea of putting 16th century glass into our eyes, let us understand then that there are things which might be good ideas, but whose time has not yet come. Something can be a good idea and not for right now, like the idea of trying to put 16th century glass in your eye. Good idea, wait for about 350 years of mechanical institution. And certainly contact lenses weren't the only one. Anybody remember laser discs? And how expensive those were? And now we all run around with DVDs like it's normal. About 20 years early. Or if you're from my generation, anybody remember the Power Glove from Nintendo? Okay. Got 2, great, yay. There is a value to waiting for work. There is a value to making sure that we have the right time for things. Because if we don't have the right time, even the best ideas can be prone to failure. We might have the best solution, but we need to wait for disinfectants. Or we need to wait for the people to come up there too. Or we need to wait for advertising to get in gear. Sometimes we need to wait. I remember when Michelle went back to school, and I had Ariana. And if she's hard to distract as a 4-year-old, you can imagine what she was like to distract as a 2-year-old, especially when I was not mommy. So I had this brilliant thought. I would kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Sorry, birds. I would take Ariana to this large plant conservatory in Columbus. And I promised her that we would go look at flowers. And we'd play with flowers and butterflies all day, which for a 2-year-old girl is right up there with the best thing ever. And so we drove an hour. And I said, don't worry, we'll get there. We'll have a snack. We'll look at butterflies and flowers. We'll look at butterflies and flowers. And I get there, and it's closed. In that 5-second window, I switched from the best daddy on the earth to the worst man to be in a car with. Thinking about my story, thinking about Descartes, and thinking about so many more, how many times in your life, have you missed something because of bad timing? Too late or too early? This is an experience we have all had. We have all shared in some ways of not calling ahead to make sure they'll still be open. Or maybe being involved with a committee that pushed ahead without waiting to check with session. Or working for other directions and not checking to see if the need is really there. How many times have we failed because we pushed the clock one way or the other? You have to wonder how many times Ezekiel walked past or by, or maybe even heard about that valley before he went there. Because clearly that valley was a battlefield. To have all those bones together and to have them all there, a battle had happened there. And clearly somebody lost. It was probably one of those places that people had talked about, walked by, and went, oh my, if only we could have won this battle, we would have been something. Try not to channel Rocky there for a second. If only we could have been a little bit better, maybe all these bones would not be here. How many times? How many times did he come and could not do anything about it? I'm sure to be brought back there with the Spirit of God, he must have felt like, what, again? Notice the two ways you could read his response to God. God asks, can these bones live? And he responds, you know, Lord. Or, can these bones live? Well, you know, Lord. As if, come on, they're dead. But now was the right time. Because he was willing to set aside and to see what the Spirit was doing, now was the right time. He might have passed by that valley thousands of times or heard about it tenfold. But now, with the Spirit, it was the right time. And with the right time, a miracle was happening. What was beyond hope? Notice how often it says the dry bones, as if there's not even a lick of flesh left on them. The buzzards had been there. But now they were walking. Now there was a possibility. Now something could be done. Because Ezekiel was on the right time clock. Not his own. Not even Israel's. Not some battle commanders. But God's. And when the Spirit says, this is the time to work, work happens. It's important for us to hear, as we hear from the psalmist, not to beat ourselves up and not to wear ourselves out when it's not the right time. There are times to be doing work, as we hear from Ecclesiastes, and there's time when it's not time to work. So I know that next reaction, because I have it myself. That's all well and good, Pastor, but how do I know the difference? How do I know when I'm supposed to be working with the Spirit or when I'm running out ahead? When we do wonder, we need to stop and pray. Stop and listen. Stop and discern, is the Spirit saying this is the right time? Not getting caught up in the moment of things, but praying and listening. Lord, now or later? This is how we know, did I miss it? Or has the time not happened yet? Or is it ready to go now? Friends, throughout our Lenten study, we've reflected on trust, on God's plans, on finding joy. And when we come and bring these all together, we see that we need to discern when the Spirit is telling us to move, so we can use those plans, so we can go forward in joy and knowing in the trust of our God. We discern, we listen. Working with God is so much more productive as individuals and as the church than forcing our own way forward. Have you ever tried to force an idea? How well does it work? Have you ever tried to teach something to somebody who doesn't want to learn? How successful are you? Friends, we hear from the psalmist, and hopefully we learn. Wait for the Lord. Listen and ask, is this the right time? And if we do, we will see valleys of bones come back, new ideas sprout out, new directions, and maybe even contact lenses that won't kill our eyes. So as we look forward to the conclusion of Lent, add into your spiritual discipline certainly the trust, certainly the joy, but also the time it takes to stop, ask, and listen. Lord, now